let's talk photography. What do you need to know to actually get good at shooting? This is a film camera. I'm using this as an example because all you really need to understand is the exposure triangle. And what is the exposure triangle? There's three sides, obviously, triangle, right? You need your shutter speed, which is on the top here. And that is how fast the shutter goes. Whoosh! Inside this SLR, there's a little mirror. So the shutter is how fast that will go open and close and expose the sensor, in this case, the film. Then you need your aperture. Aperture is on the lens, on this particular lens. And essentially that's like the eyeball. I don't know if you can see that inside the lens, but the smaller the number, this particular lens is 1.4. The smaller that number, the more light will come into the lens, which will then have two things. It's good for low light conditions, and then it's also good if you want that blurry background. And then the last thing you need to know is on film, your ISO is set by the kind of film you're using. So this particular film right here is called Portra 400. The ISO is 400. On digital cameras, especially new ones, your ISO can go up to like freaking 100,000 or whatever ridiculousness it is, right? But on film, you are subject to whatever film speed, that's what they call the ISO film speed that you're using. So if you're just learning photography, I actually learned on film before film got super expensive. So I started shooting photography more seriously around 2014 when I got out the military. I actually wish I got into photography while I was in the military, where I had some really more cool shit than I do now. But so I got out of the military and I was like, damn, I gotta start capturing my life. I gotta really, capture moments, keep moments, family, friends, just life in general. And that's why I started wanting to shoot photography. And I was using my parents' old Canon camera. It's also a film camera. Again, I started on film. And that really taught me a lot about, not about the settings essentially, because again, once you put in the film, you're stuck to that film. And then once you understand what the aperture and the shutter speed do, you kind of don't really mess with it. And most of the time, I shoot an aperture priority, which luckily this camera can do. If you can see, there's an A right there, which means it's like automatic, and I just have to set the the aperture on the lens. So for the most part, if you're shooting digital, so right here, my digital camera. If you're shooting digital, I still love using manual lenses. I use older style lenses. This still has the aperture ring on the lens. And then I just put this in aperture priority. I control the aperture. This does auto ISO. So the ISO can be automatically adjusted. And then aperture priority means the shutter is automatically adjusted. And I just have to worry about the aperture. And when you're doing that, you really can just focus on composition and learning how to read light. So the most important thing about photography, at least for me and what I've learned, is light is king, then composition, and then subject matter. Because at the end of the day, if your light is proper, if you have good lighting, if you have the lighting the way that you want to create the image that you desire, then it almost doesn't matter what's in front of the lens. It's gonna look good because the lighting is good. And so my first thing is like, I had to learn how to read light. And that is just practice, constantly practicing. I love I love studio style because you can manipulate it all, but I learned and I really enjoy natural light because you just can't beat the sun. You can't beat just being outside and using the available light that you have. And with that, you have to understand, like, if the sun, like this light right now, is pointing directly at me, so everything is lit that's over here. But if I turn, now this side of my face is lit and this side is gonna have some shadow, unless I have fill light using this backlight right here, right? And I can feel the shadows there. But if I want it to be more dramatic, then we create the shadow in where we want it to, and that creates depth, that creates that contrast, right? That's why whenever you do, or whenever you see a lot of portrait photography, it's kind of, they always have the light like not dead center, but about 45 degrees to either side. And that's how you create a level of contrast and depth within your image, right? And then the composition. So composition is important because how you're framed in the picture will determine what the viewer is going to be focused on. What does that mean? So right now, again, I'm in the center. Because this is a super wide angle lens, I'm on a DJI Action 5. If I actually put my head where I would actually want it, like right here, and fill the frame, because it's such a wide angle lens, it kind of like stretches my head, right? So like if I put my face even more, like it looks like even more stretched out. So I purposely make it so that my head has more space over here on this top part, and my head's like, if you create the grid line, my head's on the top line right here. So that way the compression of my head structures looks semi-normal, right? Because the more you go outside of this, the more it looks like, look at that, look how my arms look. It looks like, right? Because that's how this type of lens, because it's so wide, that's what happens. And so in my composition, because of the lens I'm using, I'm purposely putting my head in a certain position so that it looks a little more normal in a sense, right? And then I have this on this third of the frame, right? Which is my painting. I just finished this morning, actually. This is my character Lucci, smoking a joint, and then I just put "Stay Dangerous" because it's one of the mottos that I have of life in general. And staying dangerous means you're upkeeping your body, you're upkeeping your mind, so that you can continue to fight and flow with this life of capitalism, because this is what we live in, this is the world we live in, and that's what we got to keep on doing. And then on this side of the frame, I have my laptop. There's a light over here kind of brightening up that section, right? I have all my paint behind me, and then, yeah. So your composition will determine the focal point of what you want the viewers to focus on. And then subject matter. Subject matter is important depending on, obviously, what you want to shoot. Right now I'm shooting myself, so the subject matter is me. But to make it more interesting, we create the background. So I have my paintings, I have all my art supplies, I got my cameras at reach so that they're like props, right? So these are the props for this video, and that adds to the subject matter, because this is part of the subject matter. So in terms of camera settings, you just have the exposure triangle. We have shutter speed, which controls how fast the shutter goes, and that will determine if you have fast moving subjects like sports, you want higher shutter speed to slow the frame down enough so that it captures that motion without blurring it. If your shutter speed is too slow while capturing fast moving objects or subjects, then it will create motion blur. You can use that for artistic purposes also, because, you know, depending on how you want to shoot, that will determine, again, how you decide to do the shoot, but that's just what shutter speed does. And then aperture. A lot of portraits inside studios actually close down their aperture, meaning they're not using 1.4. They're probably using f8, you know, f11 or something, because the higher the number, so let's say like this one is 1.4 to f16. So at f16, there's gonna be more things in focus, so that if I'm focusing on her eye, not only is her eye gonna be in focus, but the rest of her body or her head or her outfit, so that you can actually then see the rest of her body in focus. If I put this on 1.4 and I just focus on her eye, it's probably just gonna be her eyeball and maybe parts of her face, and already like from her eye to the back of her head, like from here, there, that's already out of focus, because that's how shallow 1.4 is. So that means whatever, if I'm shooting at 1.4, I'm focusing on the eye, more than likely, just the eye and a little bit of her face or their face is going to be in focus, and the rest will be blurred, especially the background. So again, it's just understanding what these settings do so that you can manipulate it however you decide for the thing that you want to create. And then ISO for film, it's important just because at 400, you know, that's like a good medium ground for shooting not so lit areas and really bright areas. On digital, you kind of don't even need to understand it too much. Just know that the lower the number means that less light can pass through, and that's good for daytime. The higher the number means the more light can be extracted, and that's good for nighttime. And depending on, you know, the level of technology on your digital will have, then the higher the numbers typically will create noisier or more grainy type images. But if you're using, you know, the latest cameras, Sony's, Canons, you know, even Fuji's now, like Nikon's, like you can shoot at 12,500 ISO and still have very clean, usable images. Most of the new cameras can do that now. So you kind of don't even need to think about those things anymore. And so when you get a new camera, you really, in terms of just photography itself, you just have to figure out, how do I get to those three settings? You get to your aperture, get to your shutter speed, and get to your ISO. And then if you shoot in RAW, which is just like a file format, you can shoot RAW or JPEG or both, then you're good to go. You just need those three settings to really get a proper exposure, and then the rest is just you understanding your lighting, being able to see light, doing your composition, and then your subject matter. And that is like the foundation and the basics of photography itself. We can dive deeper into many more things and aspects of that, but that is the groundwork that you need to understand to get started. And don't overcomplicate it. Honestly, if you just shoot an automatic everything, then you can just focus on composition and light, you know, and subject matter. And that will actually just get you started, get you going, get you moving. And then as you progress in your photography, you can start learning the other pieces and what they do and why you would do it, and the reasonings of why you would shoot at this aperture versus that, or this shutter speed versus that. And then the rest is just having fun and enjoying the process of capturing whatever it is you decide to capture. All right, that's it for today. Stay dangerous.